Hello, lovely people. It says I am live, so I'm going to make sure that all of this gets shared. Welcome, welcome. I am so happy to be here today. I love this topic and I love talking about how I learned several of these things and tapping into that source again. Let's see, I'm sharing this on my profile. There we go. So, welcome aboard. Happy Tuesday night. I'm mixing up all of my days now that school is out. Every day is whatever day it is in the moment. But I do believe it is Tuesday night. So, happy Tuesday night. Thank you for being here. I am super excited to dive into today's topic. If this is your first time watching me, welcome to my channel. Welcome to the show today. I am Amanda Frick. I am a spiritual intuitive mentor. I have the ability to see and perceive multiple frequencies of energy interdimensionally, interspatially, aurically, even inside the cells of the body. And I help facilitate that connection between the mind and the body and the soul consciousness that we are, and then show people how to apply that to their everyday life to elevate our experience of life here. That is what I'm passionate about. And today's topic, we are talking about the nature of duality, what duality is and how we come into this from a spiritual perspective, from a higher consciousness perspective, the way that can serve us, the way it holds us back, and how we are constantly in the flow, striving for that unity of self over and over and over. And I can't wait to share it with you. So if that's what you're interested in, welcome aboard. As always, if you have something you would like to say or comment or ask a question, please write it in the comments. If you can see me and hear me and interact with me, let me know. If you can't, let me know. I'm always looking at how this process of streaming can be improved. So without further ado, thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. When talking about the actual experience of what duality is, there are multiple concepts of duality, but duality implies a separation or a separateness from something that we're perceiving outside of ourselves. Good evening, Miss Diana. I'm so glad you made it. Duality serves many, many purposes, but it does indicate separateness from self. Now, in order to identify a separateness from self, that means that our mind somewhere says there is a me and there is a you. And we see a lot of things in society today where people struggle with identifying things that are not part of the self, where we get into some of our mental health struggles, or when we see some of those disorders of the mind where we see more and more people struggling to really connect with other people because they are very self-focused and very self-centered, and they struggle to get out of the self into connection with that which is not them. And that all plays a part in the way we experience duality in our mind. Earlier on in my spiritual journey of experience, as I was learning about the consciousness that we are innately, which is the soul aspect consciousness, and how that travels through space and time and experiences multiple different things, often at the same time, the mind gets very overwhelmed with things. But here in the human form is where that overwhelm really takes anchor, takes root, and you can identify that we're becoming overwhelmed. The soul as a consciousness does not become overwhelmed. And today I'm going to be discussing some of the experiences of coming into unity of consciousness. Now, we experience multiple levels of duality in the human experience, but the duality that we experience between the human mind and the id and the ego and the soul as a consciousness is imaginary. That duality does not exist except for us believing that it does. And what I mean by that is that you exist in the universe as a soul consciousness. And because of that, that is being what you are, when you come into experience, a human experience, you are then born with the nature of becoming dual, of experiencing yourself outside of yourself. And that leads to our experience of duality. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure why that would be the case. I'm not sure why that would be the case, Ava. You should be able to interact. I don't see anything coming up on my end around that. Can you see my chats? There we go. Oh, it might be in the comment section as well. It might look different. Okay. Ava's on. She says she just can't interact, so I'm troubleshooting that a second. Yep, I don't see anything on my end. Keep trying. Maybe refresh the window. That might work. Going out and coming back in. I also realized my phone's not on silent. Oh, thank you. They're my new favorite. They're very summery with seashells. She sells seashells at the seashore. That's what they remind me of. I went with very simple today. Okay, I think she's going to try that. Where were we? Duality, experiencing the self outside of the self. Now, the consciousness that you are, as you exist as a soul, that you exist in this moment in time right now, within your mind, within yourself. Our awareness tends to be that of the physical, or very only perceiving that which is right in front of us and not always turning in to be connected with that alignment. One of the things that I facilitate in the process of doing that is helping people come into the awareness that this soul consciousness has the ability to come and bring forward this unity of the ego, of the id, of the mind, of the human experience from the frequency of the consciousness, the soul consciousness, the soul aspect, to experience more, to be more, to create more. I keep seeing all over social media lately these inspiring messages. And one of the things that I used to say is that you are a drop of water, but you are a drop of water in the ocean, implying that we are all drops of water in the ocean, all connected, all creating one unified ocean of beings, of people, of energy. And now more recently, I have been seeing this new meme come out that said, you are not one drop in the ocean, but you are all of the ocean in a single drop. And I thought that was just so beautiful for where we're evolving to in our perception and perspective of life, is that we hold all of that power and grandeur and grandness in the ocean within our drop of consciousness, within our connection of consciousness. And so it really gives more grandeur to the reality of what we are in the world, which is powerful, which is huge, which is energetic and vibrant and full of life. And we get to experience all of that through this vessel. And part of most of our contracted experiences when we come into it, the human form, is to experience the self from outside of the self and remember our way back to oneness, back to oneness. People practice in spirituality the practice of oneness within community, within connection, within all things. And right now, the phase that we're going into for this phase of evolution in our mind and the way that we're being brought through the world, we're now being asked to focus on that oneness of self and get that clarity and the alignment with the soul consciousness that you are before you start to embrace and acknowledge and understand the concept of the unity that you are among the entire ocean, among the network of people. For me, what that looked like was experiencing that enlightenment, coming back to self, remembering why I incarnated here and what my mission was and what I was to do with that. And in that moment, then having the ability to remember my experiences and the purpose, then I could understand and see how I was interconnected to all of the people around me, from my past into my present, and some of my future trajectory at that time, where it was going. Part of the reason that I only dabble in looking at future events is because of the timelines that we create for ourselves are vast, and there are multiple ones, and only the one that is present and the strongest in the moment right now are the ones that come to fruition. And based on the decisions we make, that timeline changes from day to day. There are certain things that can be set in motion that amplify the effect and say this train is headed to this destination, and there is a certain point where you cannot change the destination of the train. It's going to end up at X or Y or Z. And in that process, that's usually when people feel like they're being brought into a fate experience. But often it's just a series of decisions that have been made repeatedly that finally reinforce a pattern to make it a reality for an extended period of time. And the outcome is going to be that, whether it was the intended outcome or not. Now, when it comes to finding unity of self, meditation is always my favorite aspect of spiritual practice, because it is through meditation that you can experience multiple aspects of the self. You can go in, you can communicate with God, with Creator, with the universe, but you can also receive information, guidance, alignment, healing, energy, but you can also release what's not serving you, what's holding you back, in order for that to change in the alignment that you're striving for. It also gives you the ability to take yourself outside of your mind, outside of your mind's eye, your mind's perspective, and see yourself from an elevated perspective. And you can do that in many, many ways through meditation. You can take yourself to the past, to the present, or to the future. And depending on where you are in your spiritual practice, you will come to realize that all of those are the same thing and have a coordinate point to an experience rather than an actual forward or backwards in time. And it takes a lot of practice to get to that point, but everybody is becoming more and more in tune, more and more aligned. So coming out of duality into oneness, there are a couple of things that you have to get good and comfortable with. And the very first one of those is getting comfortable acknowledging and surrendering your ego mind. Now, everybody knows the idea of the ego as being the person who's boisterous, who's loud, who's got to be the center of attention. Those all stem from insecurities, and those insecurities lead to other insecurities and traumas. But the ego mind itself, I also refer to the human mind, the part of the id that is part of our mind and the way we operate in our personality. I refer to that often as the ego as well, because it is the way that we interface with the world. It was created out of necessity to keep us alive, to keep us here, to keep us learning and interactive in the world that we exist in. And thus the ego was born to protect us, to save us, to serve us, acknowledging that that has been the case. But if you desire to come into unity with self, unity with consciousness, you have to get comfortable surrendering that ego, that id part of the mind, and asking it, commanding it to observe instead of interact. Get comfortable with surrendering the ego and the mind. When you can surrender that part of the ego, it will make all of your interactions with self and all of your self judgments so much lighter, because we judge ourselves very harshly. We judge our journeys very harshly. And if you can surrender that, it makes everything else easier. Now, what I say when I mean surrender is getting comfortable with letting it go and letting it observe, and also being the observer rather than being the enforcer, the mover, the interactor. Be the observer. Allow things to unfold and get comfortable in the silence. So you have to get comfortable with surrender. You have to get comfortable doing things that feel unfamiliar, which leads me to the next thing, is cultivating your sense of safety within yourself. We have this wonderful little experience as humans that as long as we are in control of our environment and we are in control of our space, then we feel safe. Our mind associates safety with familiarity and routine and habit and pattern. That all says, I am safe. When you are embarking on a journey of unity with the higher consciousness, you have to cultivate a new sense of safety that is independent of your environment. What do I mean by that? We operate from a place of fear and survival when we do not feel safe, which often means when we are outside of our home, when we're in social interactions, when we're in another country, when we're doing something different, there will be this underlying anxiety of not feeling safe. Those of us who are extroverts really like going out. We really like doing the thing and we like being busy all the time, but we also like to know that we are going to go home at the end of the night and have our safe spot. That's universal for so many people. I don't think I know a single person who does not have their safe spot. Start cultivating safety within the body. I am safe within my body. I am safe to be myself. I am safe to express myself. I am safe to be within myself. I am safe to be in this environment. This environment is safe. And start cultivating that safety from within. When I started cultivating safety from within, I found my longing for home was actually my longing to feel safe within myself. And I did not know that those two things were connected. So when I started telling myself I am safe and doing a meditation practice around surrendering my fear and activating my own safety, I realized that I felt that I was at home within my body, within my space, with my connections. I was already at home. Very, very profound experience for me. And I feel like so many other people could benefit from that type of practice and experience, because do you really know when you're operating out of fear of safety versus operating out of fear and doing it so often that it doesn't register that it's fear anymore? That's a very real thing. So get used to surrender, get used to cultivating things that feel unfamiliar, and cultivating safety within the self. As you go through that process, you can then start to become aligned and call on the frequency of consciousness that you are. I used to get questions all the time. How do I know that what I'm doing is in my highest alignment? How do I know that I'm connecting and communicating with my soul aspect, my higher consciousness as I experience it? And when I first started, which was I was a teenager when I first started to experience meditation and experience things outside of my ego. I was a teenager, so everything was scary. Everything was different and new. So when I first started, I didn't know. I was guessing. I was just guessing, and I was moving with what felt safe versus what felt unsafe. But that takes a very high level of trust. So when you are just starting out and you're starting to cultivate trust, you must lean into your own intuition and trust that you are right. Trust that your gut feeling is right. Trust that what you're feeling as safe is right. And it takes a large amount of trust. And then practice to cultivate that feeling of safety. Oh, I gotta pull out my water here. This duality that we experience is designed to serve. It is designed to serve you. It is designed to serve you on this experience that you desire to have. And coming back into unity of oneness is also a form of service. A form of service to the self, but a higher form of service to community, to people, to planet. Being in this time and place, being with me here in this moment, there is a calling going out, that there is more. There is more for you. There is greatness for you. There is greatness in this unity, and it exists in spite of the lack of belief or the lack of feeling that it exists. When you are seeking truth in the unity of the consciousness into the human experience, when you seek that unity, the truth is that which is never changing. The soul does not change. The purpose, the frequency, the sound, the source doesn't change. Only your experience of it changes as your perspective changes, as your experience of it colors your perspective. Oh, my lovelies. Do not suffer in the struggle. Do not suffer in the struggle so far to the point of despair. Focus on the self that is eternal. When you experience consciousness and you have that moment is tailored for you. That moment is designed for you. And everything in your life right now is aligning you into that moment of consciousness, so that you see the face you need to see and you feel the emotion you need to feel to merge with that self, that consciousness that you are. We're playing in a game. We're dancing on a stage. We're all dancing to get to be in lead of the experience. How you lead your experience, how you lead your mind into consciousness can be fun. Gets to be fun. Gets to be exciting. How does one go from duality to non-duality state? You must choose it. You must choose it intentionally. It will not happen by accident. You won't stumble upon consciousness. You must choose it moment to moment. That means choosing to surrender, choosing to observe, choosing to allow yourself to receive. One of the biggest separators of awareness is an inability to receive what you're asking for in any given moment. So receive grandly, receive excitedly, receive joyously. Whether you think you're worthy, whether you think you're not worthy, whether you think your parents were not worthy, whether you think that tomorrow you'll be worthy but today you're not, that doesn't matter. We are born, you are born with an innate birthright of every facet of experience, of every facet of unity. But you must choose it. You must choose it. Now, why? Why would someone choose unity of consciousness instead of the duality, the ego, the momentary feel good pleasures of the body, the senses, right? Why would someone choose that? No one can tell you your reason. No one can tell you your reason. Your reasoning, the way you rationalize it in your mind, is unique to you and is your own reason. In a lot of times, it is your own excuses. No one can tell you what makes it amazing, what makes it great, what makes it worth it. No one can tell you that. That is an experience and a conclusion that you have to come to on your own. So explore why. Why are you here right now? Why are you experiencing this right now? What are you seeking in the moment right now that is going to make you choose unity, choose alignment, choose consciousness? Because if you don't see it, if you don't know it, if you don't know why choose it? That takes effort. That takes awareness. That takes consistent, conscious choices. And that's what it comes down to when we are desiring to come out of a negative experience or to come into a unified experience. You must know why you desire that experience. For me, for this experience, for this body, my experience of unity defies explanation. It defies words in its beauty, in its power, in its joy. In its joy. And as long as we have learned many times over, as we compare one moment of joy to a different moment of joy, there will not be joy. there is not joy where there is comparison. There is despair and or desire. But there is very seldom joy in the comparison of moment. So ask yourself why you seek unity of self, and what your expectations in that are, in that why. And you'll find the answers, and then you will find the energy to make the conscious choice, to dedicate yourself to that alignment, to that moment, to bringing into unity all that you are in the universe, all of the memories and experiences and power and beauty and creativity, the whole ocean in the drop, in the one drop that you are. So ask yourself why. And then allow yourself to be safe, to be felt, to be heard, to be seen, and allow yourself to surrender your current dual-minded experiences. It is not only the ego that we have to feel safe surrendering. You must feel safe in surrendering the moments that you've already had, the life that you've already experienced, in order to allow yourself to receive a new experience. We are coming into this time where the memories are changing, they're shifting, they're going away. Things will become harder to remember about the past. That is for our growth and movement in receiving forward. If the past did not serve your lesson, don't remember it. Let it go. Get comfortable in surrendering it. And then allow yourself to receive, and receive grandly, receive abundantly for what you desire in the world. No one can tell you that it's easy. No one can tell you that it's fast, but it can be. It can be easy. It gets to be easy. It gets to be fast. It gets to be good for you. It gets to be good for you. And only you know what that moment is and what that next step is for you. I have so much love for you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here in this moment with me, for hearing my words, for feeling me in the moment. Thank you. If you desire to ask of me, please do so. I will always respond. Take time during this space of this week of the alignments happening. Take time for self to write about and discover the things we discussed in that moment. Why? And safe. And thank you. Thank you so much. I will see you very, very soon.